Welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to look at Black Myth Wukong, and that's a popular game, and you may not be able to get your hands on a new 50 series card, but do you need it? Do you even need a 40 series card to run this particular game and still enjoy the gameplay? Let's say that you're still a couple series back and you're looking at maybe a 3080. Can you still get enjoyable frame rates and enjoy playing the game? Let's take a peek at what your settings might end up being. So looking at the minimum system requirements and the recommended system requirements. Let's just jump to the recommended for the sake of time here. And it only requires 16 gig of memory. And look at the GPU settings, an RTX 2060, a Radeon 5700 XT, or an Intel Arc A750. So can you play this particular game with a 3080? You most certainly can, but what type of experience are you looking to get? So when I'm doing these tests, I'm doing more than just one system, spending a lot of time in these benchmarks. And I wanted to see if my hardware would matter with the type of frame rates I was getting and if it would help me adjust my settings. So looking at my test bench V2, that's a i9-14900KF, 32 gig of memory. And then I had the Pentile system, and these are just what I've been calling. If you've been following along on my channel, you kind of know my naming system, where the reason I built to certain things, call them certain things. Anyway, it was also a 14900K that had 32 gig of memory, a little faster transfer rate. However, it's still the same, basically, and these numbers better be identical, right? But then I thought, well, maybe having 64 gig might prove to be beneficial. And so that's what System 3 is. The same system, but I bought a pair of of memory, 64 gig instead of 32. And then does the processor matter? So I moved to a KS system in the SimRig, and it had 64 gig of memory as well. So then the difference between the System 3 and System 4 would be the K versus KS. And then finally 5, this is the big system, the one that we're working on, the i9-14900KS with 96 gig of memory. Does any of this play a factor when I'm plugging the same video card in and running tests and seeing what I can, what kind of frame rates I can get and what maybe my best settings would be? And over here to the right, it tells you a little bit about my BIOS settings, my vidlock, my undervolt, the type of custom open loop cooler that I'm using. All of this is detailed on my channel. You can find it in my Keeping Cool series. I'm not going to belabor that here. If you're interested, please check that out. But really quickly about what I'm wanting to see when I choose a particular setup. I'm using the in-game benchmark for the analysis, and the base frame rate, because you don't have frame generation in the 30 series, but the base frame rate should at least be 60, and you have to plan for a dip in your frame rates when the graphics get really busy, you get heavy play, fighting scenes, you're going to see a little dip, so you have to give yourself a little bit of padding room. Some content creators say 100 frames per second or bust. I think as long as you've got 80 plus FPS, it gives you a leeway with the system settings. But everything is subjective. What I think might be acceptable to play, you think, no, that's horrible. Why would I want to play that? But, you know, this at least gives you a good frame of reference and a place to start. So looking at the 3080, it's a 12 gig card. The differences, I can go into the differences between the Founders Edition 10 that I have as well as the 12. Not much difference, honestly. So if you got a 3080, this would apply. At 1080p resolution, you've got high settings, DLSS quality, that's the 65% setting, excuse me. No frame gen, no ray tracing. You've got over 100 frames per second at 1080p. So that's a good option, but let's see what 1440p shows. So 1440p, and this is actually supposed to be average FPS and min and max. Apologies there. So the 1440p is high settings, DLSS quality, the same as we were running at 1080p. I basically just changed the resolution. It turned out that all of these systems ended up using the same types of settings to get the similar frame rates. You'll see like mins and maxes here. There's a little blip here at 20. That was a glitch. Maybe I was collecting a screenshot or doing a video frame rate or something. It glitched a little bit, and that's why you're going to see those numbers. But everything else has been pretty consistent. You see 18, 20. These are glitches. I was doing video recordings and probably shouldn't have used these runs, but you can see that the numbers are all the same, the averages and the max. So this is what you can expect for at 1440p at high settings. So it's really a really good option, and 1440p, in my opinion, is your sweet spot in gameplay. Now that's under that you can disagree with me there. Can you run this 3080 at 4K? And yes, you can. But you have to turn the settings down to medium, and DLSS quality can still be selected at medium settings, but you get into the mid 70 frame rates, and that might be okay. It dips into the low 60s. There's another little blip, but it dips into the low 60s. That might be okay if you want to. If it's not smooth enough for you, you might need to drop to low settings, or stick with the medium and drop your DLS quality to maybe performance, and drop your DLSS quality. But overall, you have a very playable and enjoyable experience even with the 3080. You can stick to the 1080p, the 1440p for the best combination of frame rates and your settings. You can still run 4K as an option, yes, even with a 3080. That's crazy to say, right? This is 2 generations past. Do you really need to be buying that 50 series if you're playing this type of game? I would argue that no, not with these scalper prices and these MSRPs that just magically are going up MSRPs. And it doesn't look like the prices are coming down anytime in the future. So let me try to help you save some money. Enjoy the game with your 3080. Take care. God bless.